The player model rework was added to a long list of shelved updates and false promises by RuneScape, and it disappointed a lot of people. But what if I tell you that it actually made sense and that you shouldn't be too upset about it, even though I would have also loved to see it in the game, but let's talk about it. Yo, what's going on guys, my name's Shelving and today we're going to be talking about the character rework, the avatar refresh, the player model rework, whatever Jax wanted to call it, that was shelved earlier last year, so early 2021 and late 2020 is when they first started to talk about it and show it to us, and that got added to a long list of updates we will probably never see again. Yeah, it sucks, but I think it makes sense, and I think you shouldn't be too angry about it, even though I would have also loved to see it, but we'll get into it. So if you're going to enjoy this video, definitely consider giving it a like. It's always appreciated. It genuinely really helps me out. Also join into the discussion in the comment section down below. I'm always curious to see what you guys think about subjects like these, and especially something that was quite controversial and, you know, quite recent when it comes to the character rework, because it was only last year, and, you know, a lot of people, as I said, were really excited about it, and it just didn't come to fruition. So definitely let me know what you think, and subscribe if you're new. Still on the road to 1,000 subscribers, only 250 more to go. Fun fact, that was my goal for this entire year, and now that's the amount that is left to get 1,000 subscribers. So that is insane. So thank you guys so much. Like, the support has been insane, and it's crazy, and it genuinely really means a lot to me, because I'm really enjoying this because of you guys, so thank you. But without further ado, let's actually get into it. So first things first, on screen you should see some character model rework gameplay, because I got that from Jagex. Thank you, Jagex, really appreciate it, of just the live streams, because I wanted to show what is going on with it, and to give you guys an idea for everyone who doesn't know what it is, or isn't like fully up to date with what's going on within RuneScape, or what was going on last year within RuneScape, or that just doesn't know what it is, period, or still doesn't know what it is, because for a very long time I didn't understand it either, because I was like, what's an avatar refresh? That sounds like something to do with clan avatars, but apparently it was the player model rework. It just called it that. Like, they literally called it avatar refresh, bro. Like, I don't know what, I didn't know that that was my avatar. I thought that was the clan avatar, or that it's like a picture on the forums or something, but that's probably a me problem. But it pretty much was like modernizing the player character with the idea of, you know, what is the main thing you always see within RuneScape is the player character. That's like the main thing. That's the main center. That's you. In a lot of other games, you know, build or you explore a world, and your character is just kind of something you upgrade. But in RuneScape, your character is you. Your progress is your character. Your skills are your character. Your quests and your gear are your character. That's everything that, you know, RuneScape is about, building that character. And I mean, everyone that especially plays RuneScape 3 loves their cosmetics, and everyone has a cosmetic outfits, and that would also look better. And I'm pretty certain, at least from what I've read, is that they were able to add better and, you know, better looking cosmetics as well. And you know what, I'm never angry about cosmetics, because I still would love a big mage head, even though I'm switching back to range again, but that's a whole different story. Zuck, I hate you, bro. But, you know, I'm never angry about cosmetics, because it brings in money to the game that we'll unfortunately don't see back into the game. And that kind of brings us to why I think this was shelved. And keep in mind, I don't have the facts, because this is not 100% confirmed by Jagex, so we could never know for sure. But let's be honest, we can all connect the dots that this was shelved because there wasn't enough funding, or that there wasn't enough to go about to actually get this update out to the players. And I think funding is the most important part in this, because we all know Jagex had record profits last year, and the year before was also really good, and the money is there. But let's also be honest to ourselves, and I mentioned it in a lot of videos as well recently, so probably the people who watch me like religiously, thank you by the way, get sick of me saying this, but the RuneScape team, both RuneScape teams, are ridiculously underfunded for the amount of money they're making, and that kind of shows with something like the character model rework. And that kind of made me think about, why would they shelve something like this, especially when it was in a state where it was shown. But that kind of brings us into the bugs and everything that they encountered whilst developing it. And something that I saw a lot of people get angry about at the time, but even when I just look at Reddit threads now, because I like to do my research for these videos, a lot of people are angry about like, oh yeah, you should have known that these issues would have been there, and you should have expected it, and you should have done A, B, C, or D to, make sure that this didn't happen. But let's be honest, RuneScape and the developers, they know that this code has been built since 2001, and that spaghetti code, even though it's a meme, it genuinely is a thing. And even though I'm pretty sure, like I'm 95% sure they switched to C# with RuneScape 3, so a different coding software, the code is still there, and not all the code has been cleaned up, and that's something they've confirmed as well. And, for every single piece of armor, they noticed that it was clipping with certain, like, character models, and, certain, like, presets from your character, that obviously when you have no armor on, and you have no cosmetics, like, that's, like, the preset of your character, and, it was clipping, and I just looked it up. They were going to add even more customization, even just from the character creation tree at the start of the game, and obviously within the wardrobe as well. So imagine, let's say there are like 60 or 70 regular characters. Then you have to times that all the armor sets that are in the game. And even if you just think about something like Tectonic, you have regular Tectonic, you have all the dyed versions of Tectonic, you have augmented Tectonic, and you have all the dyed augmented Tectonics. And then think about all the other pieces of armor that we have in the game. If everything clips and everything isn't working correctly, that's a big task to get it done. And as I said, if there's not enough funding and the team isn't big enough to work on it, then that big task that should not take, shouldn't technically be that difficult to do, it's taking a lot more time because, there's just not enough people on it. And the same goes with, when you look at it from the other side as well, when, they should have seen that coming. They should have seen it coming. Of course, I get it. But at the same time, you expect bugs and you expect it to solve easier. And that kind of goes into the spaghetti code as well. Like, we don't know that if they, made some changes so it didn't clip, that it didn't break anything. Because, let's be honest, how many times did we get an update and then something completely unrelated within the game broke? I remember we just got a regular quality of life that had nothing to do with clue scrolls, but suddenly the puzzle boxes broke within RuneScape where the like empty square wasn't showing up. They don't test those things because, let's be honest, if you are updating, I don't know, wood cutting or something that has literally nothing to do with clue scrolls, then how do you know that puzzle boxes are suddenly gonna break? They don't know, and that's kind of coming into like the spaghetti code thing. And I talked to some people that I know that know some things about coding and IT and stuff like that, and they told me as well, sometimes those things happen, and if they encounter that, then it sucks, and that's something that they have to deal with, and that's something where it comes in where, as I said multiple times, underfunding. They don't have enough funding, and that brings us to why you shouldn't be mad about it. And at the same time, where I think what happens and why it got shelved is because we need to make different content and more important content. And, that the people that were working on it, they need to move on to another project that is more important. And I kind of agree with it to a certain extent, because I'm gonna say that it might be too close to each other to say that, the people that worked on the player models had to work on the Elder God Wars dungeon, because I expect something like the Elder God Wars dungeon, they're probably starting with that like 2 years or a year at least in advance, and half a year before the release of Carapac. I mean, maybe some of the team got shifted over or something, but what I'm trying to say is, like, they probably had to work on that project a little bit, but mainly probably on the new Elite Dungeons and all the other updates that we don't even know about yet that are coming out within, like, the next few months and in the future as well. They needed to move on with that, and I think they just made a decision internally where it was like, you know what, the player model refresh, avatar refresh, whatever they called it, is a nice update to do, and it's a nice quality of life, and it's a nice visual upgrade, but it doesn't bring actual content, actual things that people want to see. And if I'm gonna be honest, I'd rather have an Elder God Wars dungeon or a fifth boss or whatever those people are working on now or after that this got shelved. I'd rather have that than the Avatar rework, if I'm gonna be completely honest. And if you don't believe me that this works this way, I follow a lot of games in general, and I like to read interviewers with game developers that leave companies. And in a lot of modern games, it's kind of, they get a time frame of where something needs to release. So, for example, second quarter of 2021. And then, you know, they kind of either need to make it or it gets shelved when it's a live service. And, you know, with other games, it's kind of like they cutting corners and they are trying to get it done in that time frame. And then when it releases, they're kind of like, oh, you know what, we'll fix it whilst it's live. So for example, with Battlefield 2042, like it's been out for like nearly a year now, and it only now got leaderboards. Something that should be a base feature in a game like Battlefield, right? And they're trying to fix that, and then at some point the company's going to say, well, you need to work on another project, because let's be honest, like, this project is too far to be saved. And I think in RuneScape it's a bit more difficult to cut corners, and I'm not saying they don't cut corners with certain content, but because it affects something in a large game. And, you know, if you cut corners with the avatar refresh and with something as important as your player character, who knows what it could break? Like, imagine that it could break the stats somehow and you're suddenly like D-ranked to all level 1 stats. Who knows? Like, it wouldn't surprise me in RuneScape, let's be honest. Like, weirder things has happened than that. So they cannot really cut corners, and I think they kind of just decided, like, we need to shelve this to work on more important updates that are actually content updates and that are actually people can actually actively play. And this is a cool update, but it's not as important as an Elder God Wars or a 5th boss or an elite dungeon or a new quest or whatever they're working on. And, you know, I generally think that the developers would have loved for this to release, and that's why it always pisses me off when people, you know, get angry at developers. Because let's be honest, imagine you working on a project, and, you know, you working on a project at whatever job you have right now, and you're 85% or 80% done, you have some issues to be resolved, you kind of need some more time to really solve it, and your boss kind of walks in and is like, yo, listen, dude, nice that you worked on this project, and I know you put a lot of passion into it, and I know it's nearly done, and you kind of just need some more time, but I kind of need you in this other department. So, yeah, your project is not coming out. And that's exactly the same for these developers. They probably would have loved for this to come out, but, you know, just because they didn't get the time, they didn't get the funding, whatever what the reason was, and I think it's funding and time, because they kind of like are tied to each other, right? Is why this didn't come out, and I think they're just upset about this as you are. And at the same time, for me personally, I'm glad that they did it. I would have rather had Elder God Wars Dungeon come out last year than it being delayed because we needed an avatar rework. Because it's cool, but you probably only look at it when it releases and be like, yo, that's cool, that looks sick, and then you kind of forget about it. Like, you get used to it real quick. Let's be honest. Like, same with new graphics. Like, you're like, new graphics, that's cool for like a few days, and then you're just like, okay, cool, yeah, we got new graphics, and you kind of get used to it. And something like Carapac or something like the Elder God Wars is something you can enjoy for years and years to come. And that kind of brings me to the end of the video. What do you think? Like, do you agree with me? Are you upset? Do you understand what they did? Do you understand it from the developer's point of view? Obviously, I'm upset with Jagex because they should have just either given more funding, hired more people, gave them more time, whatever, to get this out and get Elder God Wars Dungeon out, but that's just not the reality of it. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you did enjoy this video, definitely give it a like as well. Subscribe if you're new, and my name's Shelving, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.